2021 is basically over, so I want to wish you a happy new year. But today we aren't taking a look back. No, my friends, we are looking into the future, and today I want to talk about 5 bikes for 2022 that I think are pretty awesome. I'm not focusing on a budget or a specific type of bike because I'm all over the place when it comes to enjoying bikes, but this list should have something for everybody. That's enough of an intro, let's jump right in. The Orbea Rise H30. Let's start with the most expensive and controversial bike here, an e-bike. This particular model is exciting to me because it costs $5,300 and roughly weighs 44 pounds. That is awesome to me because about 2 years ago I rode the Pivot Shuttle, which weighed 45 pounds, but it cost $10,500. Yes, the Shuttle is a much nicer bike with a lot better components and a way nicer carbon frame, but the point here being is that e-bikes are becoming a better and better value a lot sooner than I expected.
I think in 5 to 10 years, you will see me on an e-bike, and I think the technology for e-bikes is going to grow, and then that price is going to come down.
The H30 Rise can run up to 5 hours in eco mode or 3 to 4 hours in boost mode with its 540 watt-hour battery. For about $600 more, they offer a 252 watt-hour range extender, which should add about 2 hours of ride time. It's got nice modern trail geometry with 140 millimeters of travel front and rear, and it has a pretty decent component spec. I just love that this is a lightweight, capable e-bike that doesn't cost a small fortune. As e-bikes become lighter, the range is extended, and they become more affordable, I'm really hoping that it starts to drive the price down of normal bikes. It's like walking into a bike shop with $5,000 and you can get either an e-bike or a regular bike, and the only advantage really that the regular bike has is some nicer components like, oh, this has an XT shifter and derailleur, that e-bike only has a Dior. Who cares? I can't see a lot of people justifying spending the same amount of money on a normal bike that they could in an e-bike. Maybe I'm wrong. I actually thought it'd be a few more years before we saw this kind of value in e-bikes, but it's cool that it's here sooner rather than later. It's gonna force other companies to innovate and bring that cost down while still making a quality bike. And like I said, for the love of God, I hope this reduces the price of normal mountain bikes. It is expensive to be an early adopter to new technologies, but I'm thrilled to see how this aluminum Rise impacts the innovation of e-bikes in the future. The all-new Scott Spark has a bold new design. Pun fully intended. This design was first introduced by Bold Cycles, which Scott has purchased and now brought to the mass market. Not to discredit Bold's original bike design, but have you seen a Bold bike on the trails? I haven't. I imagine in Europe they're a little bit more common than here in the States. This is the bike I wanted to buy instead of my Trek Top Fuel, but every place that I've contacted said they wouldn't be available until next summer or they were already spoken for. What makes this bike interesting to me is the very obvious hidden shock design, which I think is very clever. Not only does this look fantastic, but it's adding stiffness to the bottom bracket area, and it's protecting your shock from all the elements. In theory, this should keep your shock running smoother for longer and require less frequent services, as your shock is always going to be clean. It's got a hatch opening so you can access all the functions of your shock, change the rebound, add air, whatever you need to do, and it's got the sag setting on the frame, so it should be easy to set up sag for this bike. I rarely touch my shock after initial setup, so it's not a big deal to me that it's hidden. I think the pros outweigh the cons on this design. I'm not in love with the cabling running through the headset. It does look super clean, but it seems like more of a hassle whenever you need to switch handlebars or you need to change cables. The twin lock remote lockout system looks a little bit busy on the handlebars, but I'm sure you would get used to it. I think it's cool they have so many different spec builds to suit any budget, from the entry-level alloy build at $2,899 all the way up to the ultimate build, which costs $14,000. I'm sorry, that is too much money for a bicycle, but if you can afford it, more power to you. I was most interested in the 950, 940, and 930 builds of this bike when I was looking to purchase one. I was finding it difficult to pick one of those three, but it didn't matter anyways because none of them were available. I just think this bike is a really cool design, and I like seeing this kind of innovative design reach a more mainstream bike. The all-new Rocky Mountain Element, another new design for 2022 that is now a downcountry bike rather than a cross-country bike. In my mind, this is just a really sick short travel trail bike. We didn't need another term, okay? It's got 4 different geometry positions, which I'm actually glad they reduced that down from 9. Yes, this bike used to have 9 different geometry positions. Who's gonna sit there and try all 9 positions? It's not the Kama Sutra, it's a bike. Anyways, 4 is a lot more reasonable. Just like the Spark, they offer both an alloy and a carbon version to cover a lot of different budgets. A $2,500 full suspension bike is getting harder and harder to find, but you can get a new Rocky Mountain Element for that price. For me, I was most interested in the Alloy 50 model just because it had a lot nicer suspension than the other 2 Alloy models. This just looks like a really fast and capable short travel bike, which Pink Bike actually confirmed after testing it. It was the fastest bike in their testing of 6 bikes in both climbing and descending. Sure, they had the Carbon 90 build, which retails for $9,600, but still a pretty impressive feat. It just goes to show that Rocky Mountain really nailed the design and geometry of this bike. The Cannondale Scalpel HT Carbon 4. This is a really cool new hardtail from Cannondale. Yes, it's an XC race bike, but this thing looks incredible. It kind of reminds me of the BMC 2-stroke, which both feature a 67-degree head tube angle, 75-degree seat tube angle, and 100 millimeters of travel. This is like a new breed of XC race bikes with geometry that you would find on a trail bike maybe 5 years ago. What's cool about the Scalpel is they've engineered flex points into the chainstays to help reduce trail chatter. Depending on the bike, carbon can be very stiff and beat you up if it isn't designed well, so it's kind of cool they designed these flex points into the bike. Another cool thing, and the reason I put this bike on the list, is the $2,200 price tag of the entry-level model. There are 4 models in the Scalpel HT range, and yeah, they do get pretty expensive, but $2,200 for a full carbon hardtail is pretty impressive. It doesn't come with the most high-end parts, but if you're trying to get into XC racing, this is a pretty good value. If you're looking to buy this for day-to-day trail riding, it doesn't come with a dropper post, but it does have internal routing for a dropper post. It is a 27.2 seat post, which does limit the post travel you can get, but if you wanted to add one, you could. I don't race XC if you couldn't tell by my less than impressive physique, but this bike looks super fun even outside of a racing scenario. I would love to test ride this bike, so somebody share this with Cannondale. I'll probably just share this video with them myself. I didn't want to leave any longer travel bikes out of this list, so here it is, the all-new Canyon Torque. The new YT Capra was a contender for this list, but I think the new Torque offers a bit more in terms of options. Alloy builds, carbon builds, 27.5-inch wheels if you buy a size small, 29-inch wheels, and mullet builds. The new Capra abandoned 27.5-inch only builds, and at time of filming, they don't offer an aluminum version. A quick rant about the death of 27.5? Okay, I think the industry is trying to phase out 27.5-inch wheels. I predict that the whole mullet thing is just a way to get 27.5-inch fanboys to dip their toe into 29-inch wheels, and then in like a year or two, they're just gonna completely get rid of mullet and everything's just gonna be 29-inch. I'm gonna check back in on this in like 2 or 3 years and see if I'm right. I like 27.5, I'm not here to start an argument on wheel size. I do prefer 29-inch, but unfortunately, I do think 27.5 is gonna go the way that 26-inch did. They're just gonna phase it out. That wasn't part of the script. I'm most excited about the Torque AL5 because it's their budget option, which costs $3,299. The alloy version of this bike lacks the geometry flip chip of its carbon counterpart, but do people really mess with those that much anyways? This bike isn't going to be a lightweight, efficient pedaler by any means, but if you need a budget enduro bike, this thing looks incredibly burly. It even meets Category 5 standards, which is the same standard they use for their downhill bikes. And yes, you can even put a dual crown fork on these bikes if you want. I personally don't live anywhere where I need 180 millimeters of travel, but this is a pretty cool bike. And there you go, those are 5 bikes that I'm excited about in 2022. I've left links down in the description below to all the bikes I talked about today, so if you want more information, be sure to check that out. I think there's a lot of cool new bikes for 2022, but these are the 5 that really grabbed my attention. What bikes are you excited about? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for another incredible year here on YouTube. I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's, and until the next one, stay rowdy within reason.